the archetype of the healer in the siren. Because there's the rock star side of the siren. There's the badass boss babe part of the siren. There's all of these different facets of Sirenity. And being the healing, I think, comes with its own challenges, its own pitfalls, its own places where we think that we can, and we should, that it's been made into a virtue that we take on more than what is our fair share. So this, I know I'm just kind of blurting this out, like, what is the healer? How do we take on this part of the siren archetype? How do we do this in this most natural way? And I did take some notes. Just one thing that I wrote down was boundaries. And this, again, it may seem like a weird angle to go in it through, but when you get into the coaching, when you're in siren school, you're doing this healing process from both the inside out as well as the outside in, creating this synergy of, and even growth. We could say it that way, that the growth and the expansion, our bandwidth, our awareness expanding is part of this, or a description perhaps of what this healing looks like. But I think that this is really interesting because of how many of your proteges, the coaches that you have trained and are brilliant out in the world, making waves out in the world. And they've been starting this conversation of when you get beyond the healing point, what your life can be like. And when we're in it, when we're doing the inner work, when we're, investing in coaching for the first time, which is kind of a scary big deal that I'd love to talk about sometime. What is this place? How can we be a healer without being Sisyphus in such a way? I don't know, can I pass the mic on to you? I'm just very excited to hear what you have to say about any and all of this.
Well, you brought up Sisyphus, so I'm just going to clarify that for me. My very favorite author in the world, Merle Shane, wrote a whole piece in Lovers Are Friends about Sisyphus pushing the rock up. Was he in pain? Was it horrible? And her idea was actually he felt as good about it as when he pushed that rock up and it fell back down. He felt great because that was his thing that he did. It's more complicated than that. But I think a lot, just the simple thing about an unending push that is unendingly dissatisfying is so individual for each one of us. And the whole idea of healing. And if you can hear me, you could tell that I've got a cold. I have a little bit of a fever. And so this concept of healing came up at this great time. As you say, and I'm a Reiki too, and I consider every single human that I've ever met to be a healer naturally, just through touch, that everybody's got an energetic signature. And if your energetic signature is filled with love and compassion and wanting another person to be well, that you have magic in your touch. That's why I think sex is so important. It's like a connection of energies that want to be connected. And that is why sex is a healing for me, in my estimation. So this is a big arena. So what I also would want to say, because I like to talk about everything that just happened to me and that I have explored while this has happened to me. And that is, I want you all to imagine, I mean, everybody gets colds and sick and stuff, and not even to mention the big ones, the big long ones. And do you remember the different ways you felt during the different stages? There are stages of a cold where I feel completely amazing. I feel less energy, but I also feel this huge space in me. It's like the recovery phase or something like that, where there's this huge space where there used to be a war between the virus and my immune system. And then all of a sudden there's this space, like when I'm sleepy. And what does that feel like for you? Do you have ever sense of it? But that keeps going throughout any illness or bad time or emotional issue that's going on for you. They're moment by moments. So what I'd love for you to do, number one, is whatever you're going through right now, if you're going through a bad patch in a relationship or in your love life in general, what I'd like you to do is start really exploring what that feels like, not as a total to you. Like, oh, do I leave him? Do I push him off a cliff? What do I do? I'm afraid. And it goes into the same loop. I'd like you to think about getting out of the loop. Because when you get sick, you could very easily be in a loop. I can't sleep. Did he take this? Watch TV. It becomes a loop. Well, shake it up. So I want you to look back at this whole situation that you are in and realize that it's bigger than just the few words that you use that keep you in the loop. And if anybody's ever comments, talk about your loop, okay? Tell Natalina your loop. And I think we should put together a loop digest. And we'll write down all these possible loops, and I'll put on a newsletter. What is your loop? Where do you start? Where do you go? And this is what our tool called Riffing and the Want process is all about. Getting you out of the loop by dropping you deeper into yourself. Because the loop is just a superficial defense mechanism, even though it doesn't feel defensive. It's just a neural pathway that we've been through over and over and over and over and over again. It's a loop. It's a time warp loop. And if you can instead drop deeper down into yourself with this new processes we've come up with here, you'll see that it's not about any of those things you think it is. It's not about him and his capabilities, and it's not about you, because in my experience, and please tell me out there, my experience where we all go when we think it's about me is guilt, self-blame, shame, regret, feeling like we don't know what we're doing and we screwed up. And it's none of that. It's not any of that. It's like we walked into a fun house with bad mirrors, scary mirrors. And each turn is different. I just made that up, and that is so true. It's like every mirror you look at is a different mirror, and that's what it's like, isn't it? It's like in an illness, every minute turns different. You can't even predict. You can predict maybe my symptoms are the same right now as they were yesterday, but my mood and my mental state is completely different. I woke up after struggling all night on the couch, really. I woke up shocked that I was feeling happy. I was feeling spacious, and nothing has changed physically. But this feeling that I have is totally unexplainable. But that's my natural siren healing, my natural self. It is your natural feminine energy self. Maybe because I was going to get to see Natalina and you today. Maybe because I have stuff to say. I'm going to blow my nose, so I'm going to turn over here.
Love the whole mirrors thing. It's so true. Like, and stepping outside of our loops, scary thoughts, nasty thoughts to ourselves, the loops where we get into where we shame ourselves, where we go into self-blame, or somebody's got to be wrong, getting mad at people. Yeah, anger can be an interesting loop.
Yeah, who do you get angry with when you get sick over and over again? People at work, continually bringing in colds and stuff. Your son, your daughter is constantly bringing in stuff, and your system just keeps going. Who you get angry at? There's nobody to get angry at. I'm angry at myself for being so weak. Well, that's where we all go. I'm angry at myself for being so weak that I'm succumbing to this. I'm angry that I went to that restaurant because that's where we go. I'm angry that I said that to him. And the only person you can be angry at is yourself, because he's just being him. And also, you know how he is. So then you go, I know how he is. And you start blaming yourself. It's like all is set up for self-blame. So when we talk about self-love, it's like really hard to make that leap from self-blame, self-disrespect, self-pain inflicting to self-healing. Maybe is the gap. Maybe that's the bridge between self piling it on, self-dissing, and self-love is healing. And maybe it doesn't come all at once. It's not like a journey and then you love yourself and then that's where you are forever. You didn't land in self-love land. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. There is no forever change. We are humans. We have systems that work in certain ways. We make the same choices over and over again. And when we realign our brains and we start to make different choices, as you are working now with me, if you're working with me and Natalina and a coach, you know what these different choices are. Mostly, circular dating is a major life change. Whether or not you're willing to date other men, just noticing other men and practicing your open yourself tools to other men is a life-changing moment for most people. And then when you work with circular dating by actually dating more than one man, and then you stand up for yourself with a man who says, well, you're my girlfriend, and you say, actually, I'm not in the girlfriend state of mind right now. It doesn't feel right to me. I kind of just want to be a wife. I want commitment, and I know it takes a while to know for sure if I'm Miss Right, or if you're Mr. Right. So I really like to take it slow and keep my options open. And yes, you're the only person I'm gonna have sex with. I promise that. But I don't want to be a girlfriend, okay? And if that's doesn't work for you, I would just love to talk about it. It'd feel great. Once you get that under your belt, the whole concept of standing up for yourself and saying your truth and what you want. I want to be married. I do not want to be a girlfriend. It's not what I want. Then everything starts to fall into place. It's not a big deal. Stand up for myself. Boundaries. There's nothing to do with that. What you're doing is expressing what you want. And boy, it came out badass, didn't it? I mean, just saying those words sound so badass, don't they? So let's continue with the healing lot. For me, the sense of healing was maybe the moment that I felt this morning when I felt this space and I could feel that my feelings were upbeat and I could feel that I felt good for a moment. I don't know why. There was no explanation for it. It was like a big empty space. And yeah, that's not going to last forever, although I still feel wonderful. It could be a hormone switch. It could be something that's gone right in my body. It could be the virus is backing off and saying, okay, I'll see you next year. It could be anything. But I felt it as a moment of light. That's what I felt, light. And so just the feeling of that, even for a moment, that you want to kind of just go in there and drop into it and go, this is what self-healing feels like. When there's a moment when I'm not blaming myself, there's a moment when I'm not going, oh, why is it doing that? I'm not angry. A moment when it's like there's nothing. It's just like, and you look out the window and the tree looks nice and the sun looks nice and you feel the weather and you can feel breathing. And I know people who are very ill have these ups and downs also. Good days and bad days, they call it, but it's more than that. It's moments. And that moment, if in a relationship for you, can be your moment of healing, where he does something and you feel all upset and crazy and you want to say something, but you back off, and then you feel bad for backing off, and you feel weak, and you're blaming yourself and you're blaming him, and all this happens. And you stop for a second and go, what do I want? I actually want to be connected to this guy. I want to feel love. Yes, I want him to love me, but no, that's not what I want. It's not about him. I want to feel love. I want to feel loved, whether it's him or somebody else, but I'm afraid to go looking for somebody else. It's like too much. So this guy has nothing to do with him. You can see the deeper of wanting to have a partner and feel loved and feel treasured. I mean, you know, the sexiest, most amazing thing in the whole world is me looking like, a terrible mess, and my husband looking at me with his eyes like I'm beautiful. He doesn't have to say anything. I can feel it. I mean, it's amazing. That's what I want to feel. It doesn't matter who he is. He's maybe a vessel for that expression to come to me. Maybe it's more mystical than anything. Let me blow my nose again before I sound like a snot-nosed kid.
Wanting to feel loved, just wanting to feel loved. That's kind of a really big place for us as sirens as well. And with the whole healing thing, how often do we want to stop ourselves before feeling too much? I think this has been a theme that's come up quite a bit. I don't want to get too invested. We've talked about that in lots of conversations of not getting too invested with our action, but as like a masculine energy sort of thing, but also not wanting to get so emotionally invested and then not have that. This is going to sound so, I think it sounds so wrong, like a return on investment of all the love that we've put into something. How do we work with that? Because I mean, thinking about it, not thinking about it, running away from, not wanting to get too, like I don't want to care too much. I don't want to care too much, and then have my heart be broken. I think this is a worthwhile topic to expand into. The overgiving, not overgiving, because that's a big topic place all over your blog, all over the newsletters. Yeah. And well, I would say there's an invitation to being vulnerable in all of this. And maybe this is part of the healing, is our willingness to feel it. And excuse the messy wording here, because Deborah and I, we've been talking a lot about this. You've got to feel it to heal it. You feel it or be fooled by it is something that Deborah says a lot. But like that, getting into that place where, this is another interesting thing that's come up, is not even knowing that you're not willing to feel something. This place of getting into vulnerability, okay, yeah, guilt, overgiving, and how do we separate that so we're literally just in the feminine energy place, which is simply feeling and responding. Like even our masculine energy, which we need in order to get us out into the world, that partnership with our own masculine energy, is that action stems from our inner feminine, that desire, that want, and I mean, that's kind of maybe we can talk a little more specifically about that want. The wanting to be loved, and then your inner boy trying to fill that need with trying to capture a man and bring him in.
Wow, that was amazing, Natalina. That was a whole nother setup, a whole nother next week to get more to that. But just to wrap, did you just have a big aha?
No, just the time. I wasn't watching the time. We are about at time. So
okay, well, let me just wrap up for a second. Your answer your questions. Laughing is a healing. as a very release. All right. So you talked about investing, return on investment, feeling too much, getting too involved, getting too attached. Just let me put that idea out. Oh, and by the way, feel it or be fooled by it. Oh my God, that resonated with me so huge. I have to thank Deborah. I just went right down in my body and I went, wow. Feel it or be fooled by it. That's just amazing. Be fooled by an errant thought, something in the same old funhouse. A vision in a mirror, be fooled by it. Because we're not feeling ourselves, we could easily be fooled by the image we see in that mirror. That shows us as grotesque. These are all amazing things. You feel it. That means you get back into yourself. See? And you're not all throwing yourself out and being confused by everything out there. You're back into yourself. So, this idea of holding back is not helpful, ladies. It is not helpful. Don't go there. Have as much sex as you want and do it full out. Like, wow, everything you ever wanted to do. Enjoy yourself, lay back, have an amazing time. And don't worry about what happens after if you have the ability to go there, okay? And to bear the label slut happily, okay? I was just reading about stud via slut. Men are called studs, but women are called sluts. So let's just make that the best thing ever. Be a slut. Going into the stream of love. All right, so go full out in that direction. And if you start to feel bad, what you know is that doesn't work for you because you went ahead and went into this place with this man, but you weren't really doing it out of your want. And you had some kind of expectation happening and some kind of thought for the future and were disappointed. So that's your clue. Can you see the difference? If you just want to go miniature golfing, it just came to my mind, want to go miniature golfing, and you take yourself out and you go miniature golf and you don't make it, and your score is under whatever number you ever wanted. Are you going to feel bad when you get out? Or are you just like, I want to play miniature golf, I want to go. Or are you going to be affected by your score?
Oh, yeah.
Stick that one in your little mental file there. Yeah, you think you want to just go out and play miniature golf, but really you just want the score and you're going to feel self-blame, self-glad, all that stuff. Well, take that little miniature golf thing I just made up to sex. And think of it as the one. I didn't want to just play miniature golf. I didn't want to just hit a little ball around on a little thing. I wanted to get a score that was good. So you want to recognize what you want to do. So maybe going out and playing a game that's random might not be the thing for doing something that makes you feel accomplished. For me, when I feel sick, I start to paint. And I have ways of painting that don't have to come out good. In other words, if I do a picture of a person and it doesn't look like them and it's a mess, am I going to feel bad that I started painting? I don't know. Usually I just rip it off and start another one. But if I'm just doing like tons of colors everywhere and letting them drip, I'm not going to be upset about anything. I'm just letting colors drip. So try that. Try my painting drip method with love. That means just try stuff and see how you operate. Are you actually attaching an expectation and a hope to a kiss instead of just enjoying a kiss? I want a kiss. No, I want something to happen from this kiss. See, now we're being truthful with ourselves. We're not fooling ourselves. We're not lying to ourselves. And once you get that truth happening for yourself, and you are going to be so strong, you're going to feel so awesome. It's going to be amazing, because you will not get fooled into a relationship because you thought something good was going to happen, rather than, wow, it felt amazing. So if you're with a guy and you're nervous about feeling something, that's why you're circular dating. It will automatically help you not have an investment, because you're dating other guys. Yeah, you may like this guy more, but so what? You got to promise that you're going to keep the other guys, you keep your time available for everybody. You're not going to favor anyone. That you can do, just like, I'll eat this food. You can just do that with a kind of mental decision. And then you won't get caught into investment. Your feelings, on the other hand, have nothing to do with your investment. If you are with a guy and it just opens you up to amazing stuff because he's phenomenal at something, experience it. Experience it. It's opening night. It doesn't mean every night thereafter is going to be that great. But do you want, I'll leave you, do you want to keep yourself from experiencing incredible highs because you're so afraid you're going to pull yourself down into lows? That doesn't make any sense to me. When a high presents itself, go do it and see if you can feel yourself through it. That means if a man is lovely, be with him. But if he's not going to marry you, and what you want is to be married, that's why you're circular dating. And the fact that you're not holding back will allow you to meet another man who is awesome. And then you'll be able to say goodbye. That was our time. And we've all been through that. We've all done that. I can tell you stories when, wow, it just became obvious that this guy wasn't going to marry me. And what did I have to do? But I wasn't circular dating, so I had to start from scratch again. You're never going to get into that trouble.
Thank you so much, Rori.